And welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting. Today is March 14th. I'd ask everybody to please rise. And Doug will give us the invocation.
Lord God, we come before you, and we thank you for the many blessings in our community. We ask that you would give us an extra amount of wisdom and discernment when dealing with the issues of government. We thank you for all that you do for us, and we each pray to you in the way we were taught. Amen.
Amen. Pledge of allegiance. Doug?
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Quick disclaimer on the public hearing. Phil was supposed to handle this, and he's been stuck down in Florida. We are going to continue. Well, his father's having a medical procedure that got postponed to this afternoon, so he had to stay. So at last minute, he asked me to step in. So from a procedural perspective, please be patient with me, all right? There was some conflicting information that I got on the way up here. So with that, we're going to reopen. Mike, am I saying that properly?
Yes.
We're going to reopen the dog complaint public hearing, it being 7:05 on March 14th. At this point, what I probably would like to do is ask the police chief to come forward and provide some information on where this particular animal is at this point in time. If you have that information, chief, would appreciate it.
Sure. Good evening.
All right.
Lieutenant Hatch is coming over from the station right now. I was just tied up on something, but he should be here momentarily, as he was the primary person who dealt with the folks here. From a perspective of where we have gone since the last portion of the hearing, the board had tasked the police department with attempting to mediate with the parties. We spoke to both parties. There were a number of recommendations made on both sides concerning the animal, and as well as statements taken. Letters were received via email. Letters were received as a result of this inquiry. And at the point when interviews were being conducted with all of the neighbors and trying to come to a compromise with the parties involved, we were notified by the animal owners, but they had put this dog up for adoption, and it was turned over to those folks on, I believe it was Thursday. The dog was turned over, and we got a letter from the company about the transfer of ownership. So the dog is no longer at the home.
Okay.
So we're at the animal rescue?
I guess you could call, it's not called that by name, but it is a rescue type facility.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, knowing that, we probably want to hear, keep the hearing open to the point where anybody from the public wants to give us any additional information at this point.
And what I can do, Mr. Chairman, is if and when Lieutenant Hatch arrives, which I assume he will, if there's any information, I have a number of reports that can be supplied relative to the statements that were taken. And the recommendations, quite frankly, that we made after speaking with professionals about an animal of that size, as well as some requests from the neighbors who were the victims in the matter. And included was other abutting neighbors who had come forward and given us some information too. So that's all here if it's needed.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay, at this point, I would ask anybody from the public that would like to speak that has additional information that was not presented at the last hearing. Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak and bring anything forth on this particular issue? Okay, we have one hand. Can I please state your name for the record and your address?
Jennifer Kessner.
Okay, and you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
Couple of things, I guess. Maybe a little. You can go. Thank you.
Yeah, come on up.
Thanks. For starters, I guess the major thing is that I think in something like this, it's important that this is something that has divided neighborhoods and divided people that were friends.
Yeah, can you please sit and address the
Sure.
board?
Yep.
Please, thank you.
It's divided the neighborhood and divided people that were friends. And it involves two families, both of which who love their dogs. And I think that's a major piece that it's important that try and be healed and when this is done. A couple of things, my business is Canine Consulting, and I have dealt with cases like this with towns before. And I guess a couple of things in my thought, one for the owner of the dog that has been involved as being the attacking dog. I don't know if they have signed a letter to the new people, which describes exactly what dog they are getting, what the dog has done in the past. This is actually done for their protection. And it should be signed by the owner of the dog who did this, and signed by the people who are receiving the dog, so that everybody knows what's going on. It would be, as I say, beneficial to the owner of the dog in case the dog does something in the future. It was fully disclosed when the dog was passed along. And the other thing would be that the town, as I understand, because I was not here, but as I understand, the town never came to a declaration of, is this a dangerous dog or is this a nuisance dog? And I believe, again, from other cases that I've been involved in, that it would be to the town's benefit to declare the dog a dangerous dog, which, if you look in the Massachusetts state law, there is no debate about it. It's a dog that did damage to either another dog or a person, which clearly this dog did. And it would be to the town's advantage to declare it as a dangerous dog for future reference, and also for any legal issues that may come up with either party, or should, in the very unlikely case, the dog return to the town.
Okay, great.
That's basically the scoop.
All right, well, thank you
Okay.
very much. Appreciate the information. Anybody else for the record? Okay, oh, Mr. Rossi. State your name, please.
James Rossio.
Address?
69 North Street.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Absolutely do, yes.
Thank you, sir.
I just wanted to, I left a handout for everybody tonight for the board, and I just wanted to, make sure that was into the record and see, and make sure that we can get some answers and some resolutions to the points that we put forth.
Okay. We'll
That's
certainly
really
take
it.
that into consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Could I ask a question
Sure?
while he's here? How do you feel, Jim, with the fact that the dogs, I mean, can you go out in your backyard now?
I'm just learning of it now, Gary, so yeah, I mean, we'd like to be able to, yeah, we feel better about it, but we just, there's still some resolution that we need in other areas. Yeah, so yes, yeah, absolutely.
So in other
We feel.
words, yeah, with what you're saying here, you really, that just doesn't answer what you're looking for, I guess, the fact that the dog's gone away?
Correct. Yep, and that's why we put forth these points, to make sure we get some clarity and some resolution in case. We just don't want a repeat of this. We've been through a trying time over the last several months, and no family in this town should have to go through these types of situations, none. It's been terrible, and so we just want there to be some clarity on these points.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Well, sir. Anybody else coming forth with new information that hasn't already been discussed? Okay, so Lieutenant Hatch is here. Anything?
No, I basically wanted him available in the event, once these folks have said their piece, that if they need any validation with regard to the meetings or anything that was said or documented with respect to the information provided by the animal owner and the would-be shelter that accepted adoption of the animal. We do have a signed letter from the animal owner as well as the company describing some of the idiosyncrasies of the animal, so to speak, what it does and things like that. And they were documented, and both parties have signed that and sent that to us to confirm that she's accepted legal ownership of the animal.
No, knowing what the past history is.
Well, yeah, and it just describes the behavior of the animal, even things that were not discussed in the hearing. I'm sure it's between the pet owner and the facility.
Mr. Fowler?
The letter, I did spend some time doing homework with the chief today, but the letter didn't go into, I don't believe, what happened with the Rossios. It was more some, I would call them minor issues with the dog, yeah. It didn't talk about the dangerous part that happened at the incident.
From a legal perspective in our involvement, the fact that the animal was put up for adoption was part and parcel to our mission to
Yeah.
try and satisfy or remedy this issue between the parties.
Right.
So that we were satisfied with that result with the documentation we received. What she spoke of in private with those folks, I really don't, I'm not privy to that.
And I'm not so sure that that's the town's responsibility. That's the owner's responsibility and the agency accepting the dog
Right,
should.
and our job
should
was to
see-
clarify and confirm that the animal had been removed
Right.
from
Right.
town, so.
You just give me one second, Gary, on that.
Okay.
If in fact, after we close the public hearing, this board wants to vote the dog is a dangerous dog, that sends a message, that's public record, and that can be forwarded to the new individual, the new agency that accepted the animal.
Yes, it can.
So, I think that's the way, we put our stamp on it to say, this is what we came up with. And it's not our responsibility to list out everything to that agency accepting that dog. That's the owner's responsibility, in my opinion, but, anything else, Gary, on that? 'Cause I have one other question I wanted to ask.
No,
the
that
chief.
was pretty much it, that the rest would be probably more procedural.
Second question, Chief and Lieutenant, was, as far as fencing on that property, have you been there to take a look at, are the existing animals that are there, properly fenced in and under the control of the individuals, the
I'll let the
owners?
lieutenant speak on that.
I did, we did a walkthrough, actually, I've been up there a couple times.
Yep.
And did a walkthrough, made some recommendations as far as around the fencing. I'll give you an example, in one area, there was basically a toy box against the fence, which could lead a dog to jump on the toy box and jump out. Those items were removed, there was a wood pile beside some fencing, that was removed, so this is when Diesel was still there.
Right.
Removed, we had talked about some added fencing for Diesel in particular. During the investigation, during our talking to the neighbors and my talking to the neighbors, at no time did they mention the other animals being vicious and attacking them. There were times when they said that they felt the animals as a pack
Right.
were more provoked with Diesel there. How that changes with Diesel now gone, I don't know. But we also discussed, and I discussed with the Settlemeyers, as far as the animals being able to come up to the front fencing where the sidewalk is, which was a real concern for people. And they had agreed at that time to put some fencing about 15 feet back to keep the animals from getting to the sidewalk. So it wouldn't be an issue as far as the animals getting to the sidewalk.
Okay.
One of their dogs is rather old and probably couldn't jump the 3-foot fence that used to be there. And they did add some additional fencing, although not probably appropriately post and that type of thing. But at this time, the other dogs don't appear, as far as the neighbors are concerned, weren't part of the concern initially, and they weren't during the talking as well.
Okay, so from what you can gather, there's no existing danger without Diesel there that would overly concern you?
The only concern would be the dog's ability if someone opened that gate for any of the other dogs to get out,
Right.
if it was a concern. But they had said they would put another fence inside with another gate inside to alleviate that issue.
Okay, great. Any questions for Lieutenant? Okay, very nice. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I think it's important to note that obviously the professionals that we reached out and spoke to was, Mr. Fowler had asked a couple of weeks ago, whenever our date was, the strong recommendation from the MSPCA and dog owners alike with regard to kenneling animals is that permanent fencing is the best solution, and it includes fencing that is partly in the ground so that a dog can't get underneath the fence if it's a chain link fence versus just a wooden fence, so there's no digging potential and things like that. Obviously a professional is gonna give us the highest recommendation concerning how to fence in an animal. And then most of the folks we spoke to seem to indicate that with troublesome animals that it should have some type of kennel or a tunnel so that it has ability to move around.
Right.
And not be susceptible to any type of temporary fencing or anything that is, chicken wire and things like that. So, the answers were pretty standard and they were pretty common sense, to be honest with you, with regard to, holding an animal inside a yard.
Right, great.
So there were no secrets or nothing unusual that we found in speaking with those folks.
In prior history, was any complaints or any other incidences with the other animals that are in that house? At this point in time, there has been no other issues that the police department's respond
No,
to?
and though, in speaking with the neighbors, it was clear from neighbors and people who walked by there that it was a house known to have several animals in it, so Although people noted that they were there, no formal complaints, but, you know, it was talk of that neighborhood concerning the amount of animals with that. It was pretty clear once the hearing was made public that, you know, obviously people had some things to say and tell us, so.
So how long has Diesel been gone from town?
Since Thursday,
This past Thursday?
yes, sir.
All right, anybody else with any new information to bring to the board? Okay, hearing none, I declare the hearing closed at 7:20 PM. Okay. Mike, from a perspective of process, we've had the hearing, we have multiple hearings. What's the potential action that this board should take or can take?
Well, the way it was explained by the chief, and he might be able to speak to it better than can, but you had, the purpose for the hearing was to determine if the dog was dangerous or, what's the other word?
Nuisance.
Nuisance or dangerous. Nuisance had a certain level of responsibility to it, and dangerous, you were, once you declare it dangerous, then you can, you know, do certain things, you know, from restraining to euthanizing.
It's not required to euthanize if it's a dangerous vote or a declaration,
No,
right?
I think it's important to note too that if and when the dog's declared dangerous pursuant to the statute, that the board would review potential stipulations and/or orders, and then a court proceeding would also potentially include an appeal of the board's order with the local venue court, Haverhill District Court. So it's not as simple as ordering the dog euthanized at this level or something. I'm using that as the most extreme, but everything in between. And then if the board elects to do that, obviously the folks who are responsible for the animal have right of appeal. And then Haverhill District Court, which is our venue court, would obviously have to set forth a hearing to determine that, number one, if there was any punitive action taken, that it was fair and just, and things like that.
Very good. So I would open it up to the board on any, again, thought process on, you know, next step. Obviously, we've got all the information. We can, as the chief says, we can, you know, do numerous things, I guess, whether we declare dangerous or nuisance and then put stipulations on that. So any ideas or thought process from the board?
Well, I think that we've had 2 hearings. There's been a substantial amount of time gone by for further investigation. And I think that we should just move to make a declarative judgment on this hearing.
And with some stipulations there,
Right.
the possibility of stipulations. Okay, Gary?
I was fully intending to make a motion to declare this dog dangerous tonight. That's
And-
not the motion.
Right, I understand, right.
But really, we were looking for resolution at the last one. Part of the reason we took time was to put some of this onto the Settlemeyers, the owner of the dog. It sounds like they've come up with some resolution by making the decision that the dog doesn't belong here anymore. They, you know, so they did do something. Whether that's enough, I think just what to the person spoke earlier, I think it does warrant us to declare this dog dangerous, and that this dog is dangerous, in my opinion, and that there needs to be something attached to this dog that follows this dog, so that whoever picks this dog up is aware of it. There's some other things in here, I don't know, as a board, how we wanna go through. I mean, some of these, I don't think some of these
Apply.
apply 2 and 3. I'd like to know more about number 4. Because, you know, to me, the resolution is the dog is not here no more and will not be a nuisance. But how the dog's a new owner, are we guaranteed the dog's not coming back?
Well,
That was one of
right.
my
Can-
fears.
Can we, as a
Yes.
stipulation, declare the dog dangerous, and as a stipulation that the dog is not allowed back into any resident in the town? Is that under the statute?
Well, I think you could put whatever stipulation you want on the animal, sorry.
Well, I think while you're checking that, I don't think we can address the rest of it. I don't think it was part of the hearing as far as,
Yeah,
you
the
know,
hearing was just on diesel.
was on diesel itself. I mean, if there's deficiencies in the process, maybe that's some introspection we can do as a board and meet privately with, you know, with the people that have gone through this experience. Yes, sir.
There was a declarative brief issued by Kaufman and Page, which I believe to be the town council on this
Okay.
exact issue that you may find informative. Would you like me to provide that to you?
It's, you know, we probably have it. I don't know, Mike, if you give us that? Was there an opinion from town council on what we can do and what we can't do?
No.
No? Okay. Just a sec.
Looked to be pretty straightforward.
Okay, but it's not specifically addressed to Georgetown?
No.
Okay. No, this is good. This is helpful. Thank you. Okay.
Like I said last time, Mr. Chairman, if I...
Yep.
The hearing authority deems a dog dangerous, the hearing authority shall order one or more of the following. And there's 7 stipulations that you can order up to, obviously, as we had spoke about before, euthanization. And then, within 10 days of issuing under that, the, pending an appeal by the owner, as I had stated in summary, adjusted to the district court upon probable cause to believe that the dog is a dangerous dog and is kept in a violation of this section or violation of an order issued under the hearing authority, which is yourself. So there's a litany of things that would happen, whichever declaration you make under that dangerous dog declaration. If it's only deemed a nuisance dog, the hearing authority may further order that the owner or keeper of the dog take remedial action and cease the nuisance behavior. So obviously the nuisance is one stipulation to try to mediate. A dangerous dog has many, many stipulations, and depending on what the board feels is a necessary remedy, choosing one of 8 of those particular items.
Can you just review those 8 really quick? Are they one line item? I don't want to be here all night, but, I mean,
From here to here.
And just, Mr. Chair, would that, I guess that would be, would we first motion the dog is dangerous, or would we include the stipulation in that motion? I guess that's part of my procedural question.
yeah, again, it's pretty specific about removed from the premises of the owner. Maybe it says, if the hearing authority deems a dog dangerous, the hearing authority shall order one of the, or more of the following: that the dog be humanely restrained, provided, however, that no order shall provide that a dog deemed dangerous be chained, tethered, or otherwise tied to an inanimate object, including but not to a tree, a post, or a building. The dog be confined to the premises of the keeper, that the dog be removed from the premises of the owner, and the person keeping the dog shall be securely and humanely muzzled and restrained with a chain or otherwise tethered device having a minimum tensile of 300 pounds and not exceeding 3 feet in length. Also additional insurance. I don't think, a lot of these don't apply. I don't see where we can say the dog can't come back to town.
Well, there was a change in the 2012 Animal Rights Act that did stipulate that a dog cannot be ordered
Yeah.
removed from a community. It's, you know, there was some animal owner rights put forth in those changes in 2012 with dogs. So permanently removing a dog from a community
Can't do it.
is not part of
That's
that.
right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, no order shall be issued directing that a dog deemed dangerous shall be removed from the city or town in which the owner of the dog resides. So that means we can declare the dog dangerous, but we can't say you can't come back to town.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, go ahead.
comment again?
Yeah, sure. So what's your name, sir?
Nick Valentini, 63 North Street.
Okay.
2 things that I want to bring to your attention very quickly, and I apologize for the continued.
No, listen, we want to get this right.
One, I want to quote from Section 136A, Chapter 140, Massachusetts General Law, the definition of a dangerous dog. That definition is: a dangerous dog is either 1. A dog without justification attacks a person or domestic animal causing physical injury or death, which has been clearly established here, or 2. Behaves in a manner that a reasonable person would believe poses an unjustified imminent threat of physical injury or death to a person or domestic-owned animal.
Well, let me stop right there. I don't think there's any argument about the dangerous tag. It's, can we stop the dog from ever coming back into town?
Right, and then pursuant to the brief that I provided you from Copeland and Page, the town can order that the licensing authority in town no longer license that specific dog. So now that the dog has been removed from town, you can issue an order that prevents it from ever being licensed again.
What's the date on that, Mike?
2013.
Yeah, see, that's from 2013. The law has changed. So I don't know if that totally applies. Again, we'd have to get a legal opinion. But I think for comfort level tonight, I think that we can, as a board, based on the information, there's no length of time for us. Once we declare the dog dangerous, we could add stipulations after the fact. We don't have to do that tonight. We can claim the dog dangerous and then add stipulations later based on some more, a legal opinion from legal counsel.
Can I have that back?
So, yeah. So, it appears to me that this board, and I won't speak for the board, but certainly I would entertain a motion if it's there, that, Mike, you wanna hang on to that? Is there a desire of the board to declare Diesel, do we have to use the dog's
Chairman?
last name? Dangerous? Is it Diesel, Settlemyer?
Well, I don't know if dogs actually.
Well, I
have
don't know,
last
I mean,
names, but-
Well, we'll say the Diesel under the ownership of Settlemyer.
Right,
There you
right.
go. So,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that in the hearing regarding Rossio v. Settlemyer and Diesel, a dog owned by the Settlemyers, that Diesel be declared a dangerous dog.
Second,
okay, we have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion on the motion?
if I.
Mr.
just
Fowler,
again,
sure.
Just again, the procedure, so I agree, David, the way that you read this, we first declare it a dangerous, then we will decide. Okay.
Yeah, I would say we go to legal counsel and ask for an opinion on if we can, and I think the best course of action is to require, if we can do it, is that dog no longer be licensed here in Georgetown or be able to be in any resident, any property in Georgetown. If we can do it legally, that's, depends upon the law, so. But that's what I would pursue, but I think step one's here, and then step two is Mike can research it for us, then bring it back to us for, to add the stipulations on if we can do it legally.
So we will keep this on our agenda under old business for our
Absolutely.
next meeting?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so, any
We
discussion?
need to vote on it.
I'm sorry?
Never mind.
Well, move the question. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. So, Mike, you have to inform the owners in writing that the board has taken this action. Check with legal counsel and see what needs to transpire.
Yeah.
Okay? All right, everybody, thank you for your input, and we certainly want to do this right.
Can continue just a
Absolutely,
little
sir.
bit?
Yep.
I would suggest if we find out that we cannot deny this dog being licensed in town, that we're going to, because we don't know that this dog won't return to town, that I would certainly wanna go with the restrictions that it be, if it's walked, it's muzzled, and then it needs to be in a proper enclosed area as.
All right,
as-
and the agency or whoever owns it should be made known that a dangerous dog decision has been rendered.
Okay. Very good. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, moving along, we have everybody signed the warrant, I think that's been done. Executive session minutes from February 29th, 2016. Everybody have a chance to take a look at those? Gary, I know you were not present.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept the minutes of the executive session from, what was it,
February 29th.
February 29th, 2016, as presented.
Okay, I'll second that. So we have a motion on the table to approve the executive session minutes from February 29th, 2016. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained?
Well, I wasn't there, but I'll vote to accept them.
Okay, there you go.
No, it's not.
Unanimous.
Aye.
Hey, we're moving right along tonight.
I read them over.
Oh, there you go. All right, so new business. We have a meeting request from the Hickory Lane residents. And again, I just got this from Mike, and Mike, should I just read?
It was hand delivered to Jan.
This was just hand delivered to us.
Yeah. It's too late for the agenda.
Yeah, okay, yeah, this is too late for the agenda, so we can't consider this then. Well, there is some concern. I think we can at least say that, that Caruso and McGovern, has learned for the first time this afternoon that there was some discussion on this topic tonight. It felt like they weren't given proper notice or didn't know in advance, so they can't really kind of come in and defend themselves on this particular issue or add information.
It was legally posted
Right,
10 days in advance at this meeting.
right,
It's not a public hearing.
right.
No,
It's just a,
We got some residents that wanted
Yeah.
to be on the agenda.
okay,
right.
so
Just to say,
give us some information.
they probably know because I did some homework because it was on our agenda. I went down Hickory Lane today and I also went to one industrial way and talked to someone there, so I did let them know that this was on our agenda.
Okay. So I'll open,
I would like to just make a note for the board's information. This is a matter that's under litigation,
Agreed.
and you should take information and not make any comments.
Mhm.
okay. All right, so with that being said, anybody here to represent the Hickory Lane residents? Anybody, if there's anybody that would like to speak? What I'd like to do is keep it, to a reasonable time limit here, about a 5-minute per person.
Sure.
Okay, if that's okay?
Can we both come up?
Sure, come on up.
Thanks.
Again, we're just gonna take it, we're not gonna pass any judgment, just gonna hear.
Permission to approach the bench?
Sure. Wow, got a promotion.
I always wanted to say sidebar.
State your name, sir, please.
Mark Hall, 8 Hickory Lane.
Okay,
John Henneberry, 12 Hickory Lane.
thank you. Well, gentlemen, you can proceed to give us the information. Again, we will not be discussing it.
Okay.
Again, we'll just take the information under advisement, I guess.
So I guess I have a question then.
Yes, sir.
Why would you not be reacting to it?
Because of the pending litigation that Mike just said. So, again, we'll take the information. If there's anything we can comment on at some point in time, we will.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
If it's okay, what I would like to do is just read a very quick statement.
Sure.
And then I'll turn it over to my friend John.
And then
here.
let's make sure we get a copy of that for the record.
You bet, I've got plenty. So, the way this started was I spoke to the town after, first of all, this has been a really long saga. Hickory Lane has been putting up with noise complaints for over 2.5 years. There have been 4 cease and desist orders issued by the zoning enforcement officer, telling Caruso and McGovern to basically stop the vibration and noise that emanates beyond their property, which is part of town bylaws. So what we're here tonight to do is to, because we have been approaching this through the planning board, through the conservation board, through the zoning board of appeals, and the zoning board of appeals has finally ruled in our favor on this, we were advised to bring it to the Board of Selectmen to try to accomplish a couple of things. And very quickly, we, the residents of Hickory Lane, request that the town of Georgetown, through this board, issue a letter to the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection stating that Caruso and McGovern, also known as Georgetown Recycling, has been found to be a persistent violator of Georgetown laws, and as a result is no longer in compliance with the requirements of the Mass DEP permit to operate. A brief recap of the situation is as follows, and you may be familiar with or you may not be. Caruso and McGovern at One Industrial Way is zoned as light industry. The noise, vibration, and heavy tractor-trailer traffic associated with the operations violate the very definition of the classification of light industry. The Georgetown Zoning Enforcement Officer has issued 4 cease and desist orders by the offender to the offender since November 2013. The dates of that are 11/19/2013, 1/21/2014, 7/15/2014, and 10/5/2015. Caruso and McGovern ignored the first 3 cease and desist orders, and therefore this is one of the reasons why I don't understand why the town is not able to react to this, to our comments tonight, because they waived their right to appeal basically by waiting 2 years to appeal. The Zoning Board of Appeals denied on February 2nd, denied their appeal of the last cease and desist order. And basically, it was denied for 2 reasons. One was lack of timely appeal, and the other was on the merits, because we presented a lot of evidence at that hearing to prove that we have been subjected to violations of this bad actor. So we hope the board does not give any weight to the appeal that's been filed, that's going to the Massachusetts Land Court, because these folks delayed, ignored the town of Georgetown and the residents, and we're asking that they not be advantaged by the town not reacting. So we are also asking the zoning enforcement officer to enforce the cease and desist order, since it was denied not only just on the technicality of the late filing, but on the merits. Okay, this is a violator. This has caused us tremendous heartache, tremendous harm to the enjoyment of our properties, and we believe to the property values. And all we want to do is ask the town to help us in this, okay, and do what you can.
Can I ask one question just about the language on the first page last? It says, "We hope the board does not give weight." Can you just tell me what specific board you're referring to there?
So, well, we're talking about this board because we're still
That's my
asking.
question on that particular
We're
sentence.
asking you to write a letter
So that's
simply stating the fact that this Caruso and McGovern are no longer in compliance. They have not been for 2 years, 2.5 years, in compliance with the Georgetown laws, and that is one of the requirements of them keeping their permit.
So in reading this, I'm right in reading this, we hope the Board of Selectmen does not give weight.
That's correct.
Thank you, sir. Okay.
Okay. There's one other thing that we ask too, that is just a common sense follow-on to this. We know that several Georgetown departments actually utilize the services of Caruso and McGovern. We think this sends the wrong message from the town. So we are asking that the town of Georgetown, through this board, issue a letter to all Georgetown departments not to patronize this offending business until they comply fully with the laws of Georgetown and the rules of the zoning enforcement officer.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Name, sir?
John Henneberry, that's Henne, B as in Bob, ERRY, 12 Hickory Lane, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir.
My articulate, much younger neighbor really conveyed exactly what we want, but I just wanted to add that the last almost 3 years have been beyond the pale. My wife and I, our family, we've been there, Hickory Lane, 17 years. We've been homeowners here in Georgetown for 30. Never have we gone through anything like this. The noise factor, which he mentioned, is beyond, you have to really feel it, and I mean feel it when you have a track vehicle heavier than the armored personnel carrier that I drove almost 50 years ago. It shakes the ground. But it should be known to the board that there's also been, and I don't know how much data, that was one of my questions. Do the selectmen have the data, if I may ask the town administrator, Mr. Farrell, do they have the data like from the Conservation Commission and from John Metivier's logs of complaints?
No, they do not.
Yeah,
They don't have any oversight over the zoning regulations. Only the code enforcement officer and the zoning board.
I'm just wondering if it's something to provide information to get a picture.
Sure, good, Gary.
We do, there is a packet downstairs in our incoming mail on, with the decision, which probably has some of what they're talking about. It's a rather thick packet. I went through it earlier today.
You have a copy of the decision and you have a copy of the lawsuit that was filed against the town as this board of
Yeah, I mean, I
selectmen.
don't have everything. I think that was in
When was
that
that put in our
packet
boxes?
downstairs.
Was that way back when Jana put everything together? Or,
The
Not there now.
ZBA decision is just in with some correspondence downstairs that Gary looked through today.
I didn't, but it's not in our,
But we didn't make.
oh, you didn't make copies?
usually
So
make
we have
two
not,
boxes.
It's
Okay.
in our new incoming mail
oh, okay,
packet.
so we
that's
should be getting that
downstairs.
shortly.
Is it this?
Okay.
Yes. They can have copies of it. Can make copies
Good,
for them
Alex.
too.
I think it may even have more information than that.
It does, but that's the decision.
Yeah.
That's the decision of the board.
May I continue?
Sure.
I just, leading, that question leads to this, I didn't know if you were aware that, the Conservation Commission has issued either up to 5 or 6 enforcement orders regarding the wetland water resource area violations that have been going on. Briefly, we know last year that the Truson McGovern, they paid a $15,000 fine. The issue still isn't resolved, as the remediation is still ongoing for that. And I didn't know if you had that information. What I have is with the lawsuit ongoing, we all would like to know, Copeland and Page, is the town's council going to be involved, Mr. Farrell?
Yes, they're defending the town in the appeal.
So they'll have access to all the data and information that they need
Yes,
in land court.
yes.
Like I said, I've been here 30 years, I've never gone through this sort of situation. And is this, in your experience, the time frame for such a thing, how long does that go on? I mean, is it talking
It's-
months or?
Yes, at least months.
Okay.
The courts move very, if anything, the land court moves faster than most courts, but it's still, we're talking months. It might be until the fall, till the case is actually heard or decided.
One of the concerns when we all got together, most of the homestead, is that the October cease and desist order still remain in effect until the courts have had the arguments put forth to them. Am I correct in this? I hate to assume anything.
You're asking me to give you a legal decision, and I don't know the answer to that.
All right.
My guess is everything is held in abeyance until the hearing, until the decision is made. There's a due process that has to be followed.
I understand that perfectly.
Can I follow on that, John,
Sure,
please?
sure, please.
So if I can just ask a question about that. So if the offending company, if the violator does not respond to the first 3 cease and desist orders, the town of Georgetown is recognizing that they have due process?
Yes.
Okay, so,
Well, the US Constitution is recognizing that, not the town.
well, no, I'm just saying that they gave up their right for 2.5 years
Court
by
doesn't-
stretching this out.
No, they have.
So is that a determination of the lawyers?
I gotta stop it right there. I think that.
I can't
some
tell
of
you
tho-
what the
yeah, Some of
lawyers
those questions
said.
are getting beyond what we're here for tonight. We've heard from you, we've taken a lot of information in. But to Mike's point, this board has limited authority in these matters, being honest with you. It's the enforcement officer, and that piece of it, we can be made fully aware, but I don't know how much authority we have to do anything, to be honest with you.
Well, one
Just
of the-
not under statute, where
if-
we're allowed to even do anything.
If I might, Mr. Farrell, in a conversation that I had with him, said that one of the challenges with Georgetown is that nobody reports,
Yeah, it's the
everybody
truth.
reports up into, so he has actually offered to actually run point on this. But it's absolutely been suggested to us that the Board of Selectmen is really a board that needs to know this.
Yep.
And it needs to understand that these people are not complying with the law.
Right.
And you need to hear what we're going through.
Right, and we certainly want to hear that, but again, we have limited authority on a lot of these matters.
No,
We
I
totally- yeah.
understand.
And
The
not that
only-
we're passing the buck, it's just we can't.
The only thing that
just
we're
don't have
requesting
any
tonight
authority.
is for you to sign that letter as the Board of Selectmen, just
Mhm.
stating the facts about what's going on. That's, I don't think there's anything untoward about that. We're also going to press the town to try to enforce the last cease and desist order. Sounds to me like you're telling me you're not, but
Again, personally, I feel for you guys, in this situation. But again, let us take the information, let us digest it, let's confer with legal counsel, and then this board can make a decision whether they wanna support that or, put a letter together. That's for this board to decide at a later time.
okay, all right.
Okay, but we hear you, and, I'm sorry that you're going through all
We're looking
this.
for the town of Georgetown to support its citizens.
And you know
Pure and
what?
simple.
Exactly, I agree
Thank
with you. Nobody's disagrees with that
We
at all.
just have to go through the process.
Right.
Happy to do it.
The board is defending the appeal. So, they're the named body in the suit. So they will be defending the ZBA's decision in court through town council. It's just, the problem is, you know, the process. We have to follow the process.
I mean, there's been situations where we don't have authority as selectmen, but we've been able to help citizens. I know there's been cases where I've gone to see people and they've had issues, and I'm saying, I don't have any authority in this area, but I hear you, we sympathize with you, and I'll try to help as much as I can. And I think that's the approach that this board would take.
Very good.
Can I just make one more?
Yeah, sure.
John Mativier, whom we work with over and over and over and over again, he reached out to the DEP for about a space of 5 months 2 years ago. He never had any luck getting, he got a lot of emails saying we're busy, it snowed, and it got dropped. And he also, I think, Chief, he showed me some email that he corresponded with you 2 years ago, John Mativier?
Yep.
Regarding the noise and how much
Oh,
the, our
We're very
police
aware of
department.
it.
You are,
And I've issued an order to my officers, actually had an exchange with Mr. Hall too, that although we're not anywhere in the enforcement arena with regard to it, we are an agency that can document and date and time stamp, and we're doing that for the residents on a regular basis. And they'll go down there and document their observations.
And that's much appreciated.
Right.
Much
Yes,
appreciated.
yes.
As much as we've now been notified, and we have the information. So,
we just wanted the board, we have been advised, legal counsel actually, that in the family, that, well, some people said, should we get out? No, and we were advised, let the town boards work for you.
right.
And this is the path that we took going back like September of 2013.
Right.
And that's where we are now. And we've had, the 3 years have been really unkind.
Yeah.
Not to sound trite, but, and I'm sure Mark could back me up in this, I can't tell you how many family cookouts and get-togethers on weekends have been destroyed in the last 3 years.
And, you know, on behalf of the board, I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Thank you
You're welcome, sir.
Thank
for
you
your
very much.
consideration.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, I think we have some people from Whittier here. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Good to see you.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
how are you? Name, please?
Maureen Lynch.
Okay, Maureen?
And with me is Amy Poxick, our school treasurer.
Okay.
And behind me, it's not a third seat, very important, is Kara Cosmas, our business manager.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for coming in, and how can we help?
Well, good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Board of Selectmen and Mr. Farrell. Thank you so much for having us here tonight. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen to our concerns. We're looking to establish a stabilization account in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 71, Section 16G and a half. We're looking for the stabilization account because our building is aging. Right, currently, our building, we have no debt for our school district, but the building is now over 40 years old. So we need to start planning for the future of the building and making sure that we continue to have the maintenance so that the building can go long-term into the future. We have put in a statement of interest. We plan on putting in another statement of interest, and with that becomes a feasibility study. And so really what we're looking
Is
to
that
do
with
with MSBA, we would be starting a feasibility study for the building as soon as we get approved to get in that pipeline, which we all know is very hard these days to get into the MSBA pipeline. But one of the reasons for that is that we can save for the feasibility study so that we can get a better bond rating when the time comes to borrow. Again, right now, we're in a really good situation where we have no debt, and we're looking to have the stabilization account to continue to move forward with the district so that we're not coming to you 5 years saying we need this much. It's gonna be a short-term, kind of savings, and you will receive an annual report from our treasurer. And it's a transparent way for us to be saving for the future of Whittier.
Okay. So there's nothing in your regular operating budget to, for capital improvement line item where,
No.
is that allowed as a shared, district entity?
Right, so we're allowed to save 5% in a stabilization account. We did some research, we have 11 cities and towns that filter into us, and all 11 cities and towns do have a stabilization account. So I'm thinking, how did we miss this?
Yeah, right, exactly.
So really, it's just, making sure that again, that we're taking care of our school building. And, you know, you see so much now in the news about buildings falling down because the maintenance hasn't kept up. And we're very lucky that, you know, and I would really welcome any of you. You know, you said today, I was like, oh, you should have come to Poets Inn at Whittier. We had a great lunch. You know, I really welcome any of you to see what's going on in our building and see what our kids are doing. And, you know, we're giving back to the community of Georgetown. Actually, I think there's a very big carpentry project going on right now.
Really
Yeah.
appreciate.
Just started today.
Yes.
Your timing's impeccable.
I planned it that way.
There you go, perfect. So, the question I would have is, so if we put this on the warrant, what do you think our liability is? Because we've got a real cash crunch
Right.
this budget period.
Well, we're not looking to fund it this year.
Okay.
We're just looking to set up the account.
All right.
So, that,
But by
you know.
setting that up, we would have the ability to say yay or nay in funding it down the road. In other words,
Well-
if it was a tough year for us and you came to us and said, we're looking for $50,000 from Georgetown, are we obligated, if we set up the account, to accept whatever you send to us? Or?
And tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I believe that would be part of our budget. So if you didn't approve our budget, that would be
Got
a
it.
way of you saying no.
Okay, so you could put
So-
something in the budget.
It's
Right.
a line item.
It's a line item in the
So
budget.
that wouldn't increase the assessment that Whittier, or would it go through that way?
Well, it would be in our budget, so it would increase the assessment. Luckily this year, see, my timing's great coming here. Your assessment is down this year, so, you have less students, attending Whittier, which I'm disappointed in. You know, I like our Georgetown students, but, you know,
So that's limited to 5% of your operating budget?
it's not operating budget, it's 5% of the aggregate of the municipalities, so we're not gonna get anywhere near there.
Yeah.
I'm really just saving
Wow,
for a
that's a pretty
feasibility
big number
study.
then.
It is,
Yeah.
it could get, yeah.
It
could
can get very
potentially,
big.
But it's,
Wow,
We're not
that's a
going
huge. That's a huge
never
number.
go there.
All right, sure.
When did the debt fall off?
I don't believe we've had any debt.
No,
From
you,
what I can see
you-
is I
you
think
said-
we had a 10-year bond
Yep.
when we built the school. Because
okay,
they retired the bond around
Yeah.
1983.
Yes.
I don't think we've had debt since then.
okay. So this is, now, my question, I guess would be, maybe you have to do a stabilization fund versus a capital, because you can save in a stabilization fund. David may understand this as much as you. I mean, we have a stabilization fund, which we try to fund and keep at a certain amount. But really, we don't wanna pull out of that
Right.
unless we're in dire emergency. So
Right.
wouldn't a capital fund be better?
Well,
Or-
that's the purpose with the capitalization account. For instance, a couple years ago, there was a terrible windstorm and part of our roof blew off.
No
That would
money
be
to fix.
something that we would use the stabilization
That's
account,
okay, yeah.
for. But that would be it. It's really for capital improvements within the building.
Right. Because
So-
if and correct me if I'm wrong, if in your operating budget you have a capital line item and you don't spend it, that goes back to the cities and towns in the next budget cycle, right? Almost like we have our free cash flip over. In other words, if you don't use it, you kind of lose it.
No.
No, so in a regional, if I
Okay. Yeah, I got it. So yeah, explain that.
in a regional district such as Whittier, we have an account called excess and deficiency, which is similar to the town's free cash.
Okay.
So it sort of gets banked that way and then
All right.
is available for funds the next year.
Okay. How much you have in that account? Is that
We're actually using, because our bleacher system, and our bleachers in the football field, are in disrepair. So, we're using 395,000 of that, so that's gonna really limit, but I think we'll still have 600,000 in
okay?
there.
So it's not enough to build a school.
No.
Or do
Oh,
real
God,
capital, real capital improvement.
No.
Okay.
So again, if I may, Mr.
Sure,
Chair,
okay.
do you have any, I guess then the difference between this and perhaps a revolving account, I mean, would you have a revolving account perhaps for, well, you have to have a method of funding a revolving account, I suppose?
And that's come out of the budget.
Yeah, it has to have a dedicated revenue
Okay,
earmarked for that
but this
alone.
is,
If I can jump in here, Gary,
yeah,
there's actually two types of stabilization funds.
okay,
There's a tax stabilization fund, that's the one we try to have at least 5% of our
helped us with the
operating
bonding and
budget.
that.
There is a capital stabilization fund as
Oh,
well.
okay.
We have both.
Okay,
Their stabilization fund that they're talking about is a capital stabilization fund.
Okay. It's not a rainy day fund.
No,
No.
it would just be for capital.
And if I may, for the towns, and I think under the same, general law, we're required to have a 2/3 vote to put money in the stabilization fund, and a 2/3 vote to remove it. Are you under the same, restrictions?
I'm happy to.
Go ahead.
No, the way the funds would go in, as Ms. Lynch mentioned, would be through the approval of our operating budget by the member communities. In order to spend the funds, I believe it's 2/3 or a majority of our school committee.
Of the committee?
The school
Okay.
committee,
They're-
yeah.
They're the,
Your governing
Appropriating
board.
authority, exactly.
Okay. Okay, makes sense. All right,
I
any other
guess-
questions?
Well, the last question would be, yeah, what, what are you planning on hitting us with once you start funding it?
The
I
feasibility
mean,
study.
you know, is it gonna be a
No,
livable amount?
Well, I think we're looking at a feasibility study. The building is aging, it's 50 years old. When you take a walk through, which, you know, I welcome you, we should, I'll work with Mr. Farrell at setting up a date and time if you can do that. When you take a walk through the building, it looks great. Get behind the walls, and we got some boilers and some
We
electrical and some
Yeah,
plumbing.
we know exactly where you're
You
coming
know.
from.
We know your pain.
Yeah, so, it's actually really nice to go to a board that knows my pain. So, you know, I think that that's what we're
Still have
looking
the
at.
Band-Aid.
And I don't want to come to you in 5 years and say, we're in an emergency. You know, I want us to be planning for the future of the
Makes sense.
building.
What's the projected cost of the feasibility study, roughly?
About 800, and to add to what Maureen said, if we get approved in the pipeline for MSBA, and I'm assuming it's gonna take us a couple of years, they're gonna be looking for us to fund a feasibility. Now granted, it comes back through the grant if you
Right,
go
if you
through the
get the money.
process, but you have to outlay the funds. We are doing capital assessments, and we've been very consistent at about 400,000 for transportation, buses and stuff every year. The goal is to try to funnel some money into the capital stabilization, so the assessments aren't going up significantly to you. If we had 400,000 sitting in the stabilization, and then we needed 800, then your capital assessment is no higher than what you're already paying now. So that's also one of the plans, is to try to keep any assessments that we have as level as possible. So we're not coming to you and say, hey, we need to triple what we've been charging
I
you.
understand.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was Gary's point, I think, for the
Yeah.
beginning.
And really to plan, to try to level it, you
Yeah,
know,
like
as much as we
We
can.
did have something, I think, a couple of years back, wasn't it, for the roof that you mentioned, that,
We did a
Wastewater treatment plant.
wastewater treatment plant. The roof
Actually-
was paid for. And
yeah, I think there was an assessment for the roof.
There might have been.
You were in the MSBA roof program.
Right,
And it was about
they make.
$200,000, I
right.
think.
I wanna say
Yeah.
that was 8 years ago or so.
Yeah, about that.
So for you to set up this fund, do you have to have unanimous from all of the communities?
I think it's
No,
2/3.
it's 2/3.
2/3 of the communities to say, okay. All right. Any other questions?
nah, I'd just like to say, I've been to a few of your open houses, and I've attended some night classes there years ago, and I'm the old Havel trader.
Oh, okay.
1970 graduate of Havel trade, so I understand the need
Yeah,
for the school, by all means.
thank you, I appreciate that.
All right, great.
Thank you.
All right, ladies, thank you so much for coming in. Okay, so, and just one quick question, as far as process on that, Mike. They would provide us with the language for the warrant?
We already have it.
We already have it.
It's in draft form on your warrant you
Okay,
have.
right.
I just got an email from legal counsel, and he has approved it as the legal form. So
Okay.
it's
And that's just a
it's
matter of
good to
making a
go.
motion?
Which article is it?
Probably near the end.
It is, yeah.
Not sure.
Just a matter of making the motion, developing the actual motion. Before town
Yeah,
meeting.
when-
It is the very last page.
But we're gonna have to open a warrant again to do that, correct?
No, it's already in. You just haven't voted on it yet.
Oh, we really haven't voted on any of them.
No.
Yeah.
We'll have
Yeah,
to
what are your
do that
regional
on
It's
That's
not,
it.
it's on.
20.
ATM 16-23
Mhm.
is at the
It's
end.
on the
Okay,
annual,
so we're good.
on the special.
But I mean,
So it's
if I
already
may,
on
it
there.
wasn't there when we closed the warrant, but I mean, we just continue to,
We received it on the 26th of February. Yeah, we closed it on the 22nd, right.
So we'd have to open the warrant
Mm-hmm.
to put it back
We'll
on?
probably be doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll get all that,
yeah, we'll have,
yeah, logistics worked out.
mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, thank you. Moving along, Chapter 70 funding resolution. Now, there's a resolution in here that, if you take a quick look, the Suburban Coalition has asked the cities and towns to support this actual resolution. I've had a chance to read the resolution. My thought process is, I mean, they say they have it out with a lot of other cities and towns, and all I could see was maybe a handful of towns that have approved it or, have decided to support this. Is that school committee supporting this, Mike?
Yes,
I'm sure they are. Right?
actually, we were given this, resolution at last week's finance committee when the, school committee appeared before them.
Okay.
They requested that both the finance committee and the board of selectmen, support this resolution.
Okay.
And adopt it.
Right. Has everybody had a chance to read the resolution?
Well, skimmed it. I know that they're really looking for a change in the way the formula is in determining
Local aid.
funding.
Right.
I quickly, I read it rather thoroughly, but quickly, a lot there that I don't know about, David, and I really felt that way. I'd like to perhaps reach out to Senator Carr's office and Lenny Mira, if I get some understanding there, on how they feel about this.
Yeah. All right. I don't know much about the agency, the Suburban Coalition.
Yeah.
That was kind of my concern, that nobody's come forward to tell us, who they are and
Yeah, perhaps if
what
we
they
have
do.
one.
and-
Well, I know that we could probably talk to Pam Lundquist, or whoever, she's the one that sent us this, and was really promoting it at that meeting last Wednesday.
All right, so what I would recommend is that, then there's no timetable on that, right, Mike? Can we wait till our next meeting so we can have a little more time to research and possibly have a representative from school committee here to give us a little color on it?
Sure.
Perhaps anybody
I'm
from-
not aware of any time limit.
Yeah, or somebody from that actual agency
Yeah.
to come
I
in
think,
and let us know what they do.
Well, probably easier to get the school committee here.
School committee.
Or-
All right, I'd say a representative from the school committee to give us, and we can do our own research on this particular agency. Okay? All right, good. Chief, are you waiting for us for anything specific that I missed?
Under old business, there was an application that we needed to vote on for the truck exclusion
Oh,
program.
I don't see it.
Wasn't on the agenda.
it's not on the agenda, but come forward.
And
Take it
and-
in
and this,
Items not reasonably
Accepted by the
anticipated
chair.
by the chair.
Yeah.
Like I was gonna be the chair tonight. That wasn't anticipated either.
and something else I wanna bring up.
Good evening again. Very quickly, this is something that I've been working on since 2013, with trying to solidify our vehicle exclusion application for Searle Street, Tenny Street, Lisa Lane, Marlborough Road, and White Pine Drive. And our research came up with, in 2008, the town initially applied for this particular application through the Department of Transportation. There were some components of the application missing. It kind of fell off the table and went away. I revisited in 13 to see why we could not get some signage from the Department of Transportation, the state, Mass Highway, and my request for signage was denied. I've worked with Representative Mira's office, Senator Tarr's office. Quite frankly, I mean, the state paid millions of dollars to put this access road through Georgetown. Georgetown put in their share. And to date, we still have a road that's not properly marked for trucks to use, and we just have daily traffic and truck complaints in that neighborhood. Wires being taken down, fire hydrants being hit, the safety issues, the roads aren't made for the traffic. It's basically similar to this other issue. You have a commercial zone and our residential zone. To get to the commercial zone, you have to go through the residential zone. It's been a problem since the early 2000s, so that's why this road was created. The problem is it's a road to nowhere because there's no signs to get you there. And so I need this application. We finally have the traffic count from Merrimack Valley Planning. Howard was my driver to get that done for the town. That's a fairly extensive document, as well as, this is the draft application for vehicle commercial exclusions on behalf of Georgetown, and then in that application, we need a letter from the authority, the Board of Selectmen, stating that we want signage on 95 pursuant to our core direction to the access road.
Okay.
At this point, this is the draft application that Merrimack Valley had done for us. We have a copy of that, which we can turn to our full application, but it needs your approval, and it needs a letter from the board accepting this,
Okay.
and then requesting the exclusion from these residential roadways. And then we then in turn will ask the Department of Transportation to provide us some signage. We were denied based on distance and travel with regard to signage on Route 95 North. I was out there this afternoon. I measured and mapped every single sign on the highway to show that we can put a sign out there. So we just need to hear why we cannot. Because if we can't put signs on the Cloverleaf, our interstate overpass, and connecting on and off ramps and the highway, the access road will never come to fruition because of GPS, because of the configuration of our highways. People just don't drive there that drive these vehicles. We've had a zero tolerance enforcement. It's costing us money. Our appurtenances are getting hit. Our residents are not happy. But it's been a charge of mine since I took office, so I'm trying to get a sign. That's what I'm trying to do.
So moved, all that he said.
So, can I make a suggestion that you get together with Mike and you guys draft a letter, so that we know the exact language you're looking for?
And then just submit it to, if you could vote in the affirmative for this application,
Right.
we'll do that, and then,
They got a chair to sign it.
Yeah, authorize the chair.
God willing, we'll
Okay,
we'll
so I'd
request
entertain a
signage.
motion to accept the application for heavy commercial vehicle exclusions for Fieldstone Lane, Lisa Lane, Ledge Drive, Marlborough Road, Searle Street, Tenny Street, White Pine Drive, and authorize the chairman of this Board of Selectmen to sign a letter of support.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Thank you, Mr.
Good
Chairman.
job, chief, sorry to
All
keep
right,
you waiting.
no problem. Yes, sir.
While, if I
Yeah,
may,
go ahead, sure.
David, while the chief is here, I'd like to bring up the traffic study committee. I don't know, did you guys talk about it at the last meeting?
Not at the last meeting, no.
Mentioned it, to perhaps see if you could put it on, and I was volunteering to be on that. I believe we don't have anybody.
We had it with Sharon, wasn't that Sharon?
No, we downgraded it to, I believe, a three-person board, being a member of the selectmen, the highway surveyor, and a member of the police department, I think, at one
But that was,
point.
I'm talking, that was the old, that committee.
Yeah, we had a five-member board at one time.
Because DPO was on that too, right?
2010.
Yeah, yeah.
It was our last,
Wow.
our last
Time goes by
review
too
of our parking regulations, and I do concur with Mr. Fowler that if we can, I mean, I'll certainly offer, Sergeant DeFio brings some good history. He's been on it, I think, since 2008 or 9 when we started it, and things have changed. You know, the town has changed a little bit in the last 5 or 6 years, and you know, with the highway surveyor in the downtown businesses, we need to seriously take a look at that. And I think that committee made some great recommendations back then, and we actually put forth that the plan that they had come up with, and it worked very well up to a point where now I think we're at another phase of change in our community.
So Gary, you're volunteering to
Well,
represent the board?
under appointments and approvals, yes, I had made several of them, meetings when the board was there, and I would volunteer to be on that board as a representative of the selectmen, and I do think it's, what's a word, pertinent that we get that going again.
Yeah, worthy. Okay, very good.
All right.
Thanks, chief.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so when we get to appointments, Janet, can you just take a look and see what the actual description of that committee is, and so we can appoint Gary to that committee?
I don't have it here.
We don't have the, all the, okay.
I don't have all
Yeah, the next meeting.
We
will
can
be
do it next
fine.
meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, Mike, we want to just make sure that that gets on the agenda for next meeting, please. All right, nomination papers are due back to, by March 21st at 5 PM. So please, we encourage you to step forward and be part of the process. You know, there are open positions on many boards, and the more people that are competing for those boards, I think is something that benefits the town and the townspeople. So nomination papers are back by the 21st at 5 PM. Selectmen's report, Mike.
Chairman.
Sure.
I did talk to the town clerk. She recommends that no one waits till the 21st.
Right.
Unless you're gonna have excess names on the
Signatures.
petitions.
Right.
Because if you only come in with 25 and some of them aren't registered voters, you will not have enough time to resubmit.
Right. Don't wait till the last minute. That's basically.
Or have
Right.
a lot more than
Now,
25.
The 21st is, what's today?
Next, a week
Next
from
Monday.
It's a Monday,
Yeah.
okay.
Week from
So,
today.
And,
Right.
all right, so that's a week, yeah, that's right, a week from today, okay.
And she's closed on Fridays.
Fridays, right.
So get them in Thursday
Yeah.
at the very
The
latest.
latest. Okay. All right, so that's the suggestion. Please get your signatures in. And the deadline is the 21st at 5 p.m., but let's not procrastinate. Let's get them in early. All right, Selectmen's report. Strategic planning update. Mike, anything to add?
No.
None at this time?
No.
One of progress, right, Mike?
We had a third public meeting a week ago Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
On the 5th.
and it was very well attended.
Good. Good.
I saw the sign-in sheet. There were at least 39 names.
Very good. Okay. All right, spring meetings. Our meeting's coming up. May 2nd is the annual town meeting at 6 p.m. May 16th, May 23rd, June 13th, and June 27th. So, those are our meeting dates. And town administrators report, senior center update. Mike, did I hear there was a shovel going in the ground today, or a hammer hit a wall today? Is that?
I believe Colleen hit the wall with a hammer today.
Yeah. Rather than any individual, she hit a wall.
Exactly,
Right, there we go.
Yes, the crew from Whittier Tech started, and they were doing demolition, and they'll start, they're going to do all the framing, and we have to use steel framing, and they're pretty sure that they'll be able to have the whole thing framed in the next 3 weeks.
Nice.
And that will dovetail perfectly with the general contractor. Because then actually the electrical subcontractor will come in and be able to do all the wiring before the walls are up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which would be a
Obviously.
bummer.
Inspections and
Yeah.
everything else. Yeah. Good.
And then, and the GC, general contractor, will be able to run the duct work for any of the air conditioning.
Nice.
So, and the flooring and tiling will be able to be done over the summer. Actually, the maintenance department of the high school is gonna do that, I mean, of the school district. They're gonna do flooring, tiling, and painting. And then in the fall, the Whittier Tech will come back and do finish work. Yeah, they'll do the finish work.
So projected completion date, again, not holding you to it, but so that the public knows.
It could be until November.
Okay, so we're looking around the holiday season.
Hopefully, I'm a little more optimistic, but, you know, Colleen would like to be in there before Christmas.
Okay, well, there you go.
Just,
So by the end of the calendar year, we should be in
Absolutely.
full
Yeah.
force there. Great, that's awesome.
just another thought. You said what's the school maintenance doing now? The flooring, they're working in the summer,
Yes.
but then the students are coming back to do finish trim and that?
Well, we'll have to time that. The school maintenance is gonna lay carpeting, so we probably don't wanna do the sheet rock until
don't wanna do the
We
carpeting.
don't wanna do the carpeting until the
Carpeting
sheet
early
rock's in.
Right.
So
exactly.
I guess how involved are they? Because at first I thought it was just the carpentry. Are we getting painting also?
Yeah, there's exterior painting and fresh coat of paint on the halls and the walls in the rooms.
Okay, because I wasn't sure how that, because it's interesting, it's all falling together with some thoughts that I know I had expressed, and I thought if needed, I know the ones that did the exterior of this building also do interior work, so if needed, we may also keep them in line in case something, although maybe they can't work there at that facility, I don't know.
I don't think that's gonna.
That's a later thought, okay.
Yeah, there you go. I don't think that's gonna happen.
Well, maybe in the summertime they could.
True.
Well, didn't they do some of the shoveling of the roofs and that, correct?
Yeah.
Or was it just at Trestle Way?
No, they were on the roofs at the high school, but there was no students. There was
So,
no
well,
student activity
just
going on.
something to keep in mind if it could be worked out.
Okay. All right, Mike. Anything else that you want to bring forth to us?
The budget process is moving forward. It's a tough budget year. I have received a couple encouraging numbers. We originally were told the budget, a 10% increase for health insurance, and came in at 8.5%. So that saved us probably around $60,000.
One of our largest line items, right?
And I talk about timing with the Whittier Tech people. I talked to one of those ladies I talked to on the phone today, and I learned that our assessment, actually we have 6 less students going to Whittier next year, so our assessment is down considerably by the tune of $53,700. So and that hasn't been factored into our budget process yet.
So that's a win back.
So yeah, so we have some additional savings there, and I can't guarantee it, but I also talked to Essex Tech, and we have 5 students now, one of which is a senior. So we have potential of dropping down, but they do have 4 applications.
Okay.
But because of we're not in the district, they look at our, out of district apps last.
Okay.
And they have about 1,200 applications for 350 spaces.
Yeah.
So they said maybe 1 or 2. So worst case scenario, I think will be good level funding.
Question, does it look like we're down at Whittier because of the opening of the other school? I mean, so.
I don't know that, Gary.
Probably a better question for the
I
school
think they
committee, I
have
guess.
different,
There's different curriculum on.
yeah.
Somewhat, but,
Opening Essex Tech.
Essex Tech, yeah.
Oh.
The combination.
well, see,
Different
Essex Tech
schools.
used to be mostly a technical, but now they're also a similar school to what Whittier is. I think they have machine shop there, which they probably didn't have. So, could be that we're down.
I don't know
one
the
because of
criteria for acceptance,
Yeah.
They do take in-district students first, and
Right.
my guess would be they would have to have a curriculum that Whittier doesn't have. Otherwise, they go to Whittier.
Yeah, there has to be some difference there.
But I'm not sure of that.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Mike?
No.
Okay.
Comment on the budget?
Sure.
I just,
Yeah.
I don't know if you're aware, Dave, but I mean, we are trying to balance it with 300
Yeah.
from free cash. If there's anything that shows up, I hope that we can offset that.
Yeah. That's. Yeah, I just heard that tonight. So let's see where we go with that. But
I know
I know.
I know it's a difficult year, but.
Yeah. And I know in the past, having served on that committee, that Jim Lacy has always frowned upon using free cash unless it's a dire emergency. So I understand, that it must be, and that hopefully we can see some additional revenue come in that we can offset and not have to do that, resort to that.
Sure.
That's a structural issue that's only going to come back and bite us later. So, anyway, all right, Mike, Gary, did you have anything else? That I didn't bring up. You said you wanted to mention one thing. Or
No, that was the traffic study committee.
Okay, great.
Earlier
All right,
there,
thank
so thank you.
All right. Anything else? Any additional business to bring forth to the Board of Selectmen? Hearing none, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Good night, everybody, and thank you. So I would enter this into the record, right?